So as long as I'm here in the shadows, the sun won't hit me in the eyes, and I'll be blinded by science. But anyways, I wanted to kind of come on. I alluded to this yesterday on my video I did about hanging out with Bob in Pittsburgh. That I kind of want to do like a follow-up video, kind of just talk about the day in general, or the week I should say. I got there on Wednesday last week, and I stayed through Sunday. And I just want to hit a couple of the highlights. So a big thing for me is like I wanted this, when I go to a town, a city, a village, whatever, I want to, just kind of hang out with the way the locals hang out. Go to the same places, hit up the same restaurants, try to do as many of the non-touristy things as possible. Of course, I enjoyed hitting up some museums and things, but overall, I just want to hang out and just spend time with Bob and his family, and just enjoy my time hanging out there in the city, or wherever I go. I have a couple of things planned. Actually, hopefully, I might be going to Canada to visit Dr. Exclusive Joe. I have something set up, I believe, with Mangini in June, hanging out with him in Myrtle Beach. So I am out there in the communities, in the states, even maybe worldwide, internationally, here soon. So I am definitely trying to do that. But with that being said, I'm just going to visit places. I want to just hang out with my friends and just kind of, do the things that people do there. I don't need all the fluff. So with that being said, now I'm sitting here in the dark. Now that's a little bit better. I feel like I'm in the dark. I'm in the brightness. I'm over here, hanging out here. Maybe this is a better spot. Maybe I'll come over here a bit. So maybe I'll come over here a bit. Maybe that's better. So anyways, so I got there on Wednesday. I hit up a really great Italian place, Serafino's, close to Bob's house in Pittsburgh. I got there a little bit probably too late for dinner with him, so I wanted to grab some dinner before I got there. Never been there. It was a local place. I got to say it was awesome because, first of all, you could tell people were like, this guy doesn't look like he's from here. They put me in the corner, literally in the corner. You don't put baby in the corner, but they did put me in the corner. And there was like home style, like everybody knew each other. Felt like everybody was like a shorthand when they're talking to the waitresses, and the waitresses were giving it to the customers, and just essentially this. It's like a family atmosphere. It was awesome. They had this homemade bread that was absolutely amazing with this sauce they make, or some kind of buttery garlic. That's not even some kind of like red crust. I don't know what it was. It was awesome though. And for the bread, and then I got the crab cakes and a little side of pasta. I think they call it like Mary's pasta or Maria's pasta, and it was all good. It was all good. And they had all these round tables filled with Italian men. They were bringing in their own alcohol. I guess you can't have alcohol there. Like, they can't serve it, but you can bring it yourself. So there's like these 2 or 3 tables filled with like a bunch of older Italian men that were bringing in their wine bottles, and they're like, the waitresses were popping the corks and pouring out the wine for everybody. And it was really cool. And like I said, it was a cool experience. Like, as soon as I got there, I got there at like 5, 6 o'clock, and boom, it was like right then and there. And then on Thursday, Bob and I went to we hit up a couple like breakfast. We hit up a breakfast place. We hit at 2 or 3 breakfast places together when I was there, which was awesome. Absolutely loved it. I can't remember all the names of them. I don't remember, but one in particular was super packed, filled with people, absolutely amazing food. Anyways, it was awesome. They had home style potato pancakes, I think if I heard correctly, and they give you applesauce for it. And I got that along with the New York cheeseburger, which I didn't know there was such a thing. And I guess we went there initially for breakfast, but then I saw their lunch menu, and I was like, let's go for lunch. At least that's what I did. It was absolutely awesome. And so, I mean, we just did a couple restaurants the entire time. Sorry, as I'm trying to move back and forth. So there was that. So that was super cool. Then we got to go see downtown Pittsburgh at the Harris Theater. We went to go see Assault on Precinct 13, which is a John Carpenter film. It's one of his first ones he ever had done. and they had the 4K restoration of the film. So it was really cool to go to a like probably a 1920s, 1930s theater that has been renovated and watch a movie in there. Like, so myself and Bob were like the only people there. There was like maybe a dozen people, and that's probably being generous. And we called the day before saying, hey, is this place going to get sold out? And they're like, no, you'll probably be fine. And we were kind of laughing about that because Bob went out to the guy who owns it or runs it, and he was like, yeah, I was the guy who called and asked if it was going to be okay if we came in or we needed to buy the tickets early. And they had a good laugh. But I got a big popcorn and a big drink, and it was like $7. That was it for the usually a popcorn $7 by itself. So getting a popcorn and a drink, the ticket itself, like I don't know how much Bob took care of it, but I think it was like around $10. It was awesome, super fun. They had the Dolby Digital surround sound or whatever in the theater. Of course, I never seen Assault on Precinct 13 on a big screen, so that was super awesome. After that, the next day we hit up a couple car shops. That's when I ran into Don, and so Don and I and Bob hung out for a handful of minutes. We had a good time hanging out in one of the car shops, but we had to cut out early. So Don did his thing. I got a picture with Don. I signed his book, so that was cool. And it was funny. We're talking about again the height difference, and he was talking about some of his experiences with other guys in the community, meeting them. And it was just really cool to hang out with Don. Field of Dreams, I don't think I've mentioned that. I just assume people know this, but Field of Dreams Don, sorry if I didn't make that clear. And then Bob and I got to spend a lot of time with his parents. His dad and I have like a nice connection. Him and his mom too, they both went to school in Indiana, not too far from where I live now, for college. And so that was really cool to get to connect with him. His mom made these most amazing pepperoni rolls, which is a West Virginia thing. If you don't know, you don't know. As people like to say, if you know, you know. But if you don't know, you're just not going to know. These pepperoni rolls are on point. And I've had them before because I had another handful of friends in West Virginia, and I would go there, and they were good. But his mother has like that recipe on lockdown, and I did everything I could not to eat like a whole big giant like loaf of the pepperoni rolls. So thank you so much, Mrs. Lewis, for that. It was absolutely outstanding. I got to hang out with his dad at me and Bob showed up at like the Galleria in Pittsburgh. Apparently this is where the older crowd hangs out in the mornings. They go to the Panera Bread, they get their coffees or their danishes or their croissants or whatever, their scones, and then they go and sit out and kind of like and like people watch and talk. And so his dad has two buddies, another Bob and I believe Joe, which is and they're all like around the same age. They've been friends, I guess, for a long time, and they're just talking about life. And it's kind of cool to see like these gentlemen. There's ladies playing mahjong there. There was like other tables of older ladies, other tables of men, just hanging out, chatting. But it's like apparently the premier place to hang out if the over 60 crowd in Pittsburgh. So there was that, and Bob and I kind of walked around the Galleria for a bit, and then. One of the days I just kind of got in my car. Bob was busy with doing husband and fatherly duties. So I was like, you know what, I'll leave up one morning. And I hit up Squirrel Hill, and I went to the Strip District. But don't get it twisted, guys. The Strip District is not what you think it is. It is a neighborhood in Pittsburgh. And I just drove around. And one of the cool things, I was telling this to Bob, because you just don't see it in Indiana. Actually, I've never seen it, but definitely never seen it with my own eyes, and it never would happen in Indiana, at least not any time that I can think of, is that it was a Saturday, and so I guess the Jewish community, which is a large community in Pittsburgh, must have been going to synagogue, and there was tons of people, and Squirrel Hill is a big Jewish, I guess, neighborhoods, and I saw so many Jewish people go into their houses of worship, walking around, and you just never see that in Indiana. It was so cool to see, husbands and wives and moms and dads and children just walking together as they walk to, again, their synagogues or houses of worship or places of worship. It was so cool to see. I wish, I could have stopped and really just like got out and kind of just watched people just interact more. Like that to me is just an interaction, and just be able to, participate from a distance. People's way of life. It's just, I lived in Asia for so long. I got to see so many people just living their lives, and those are the things I enjoy doing when I go to these states or other places, cities, because it's different than how I grew up. So that was really cool. And then Bob and I went that night, I believe. We went to the theater, and we went to go see Cocaine Bear, which was absolutely hilarious. It was a fantastic movie. I highly recommend it. It is exactly what you expect it to be. It is completely turn off your brain, just funny, gruesome, grotesque, dark humor. I highly recommend it. I mean, it's not I wouldn't spend a lot of money on going to the theater. Like, don't spend like, it shouldn't be like a $12, $14 movie to go see. But if you can see it at a matinee or you can stream it or whatever, you will not be disappointed. It is absolutely hilarious. I mean, the stuff they do in that movie, it just makes you just scratch your head like, wow, they really went there, and they sure do. So that was awesome. Bob and I did that. It was actually a pretty packed theater. We went to, I was surprised, but we were up real up close. So whenever the bear was attacking people, it felt like you were like actually being attacked. Because it was so packed, which was shocking that a movie like that was filled with people. But sure enough, so we saw that, and then Bob and I went on Saturday afternoon, I believe. I'm kind of getting the dates and the times mixed around, but we were able to go out and go to, I believe he said, south side of Pittsburgh. It's called South Side, but again, another neighborhood. And what happened on Friday, because it was super cold and it was raining nonstop, so people really couldn't celebrate St. Patrick's Day the way you would think Pittsburgh would want to celebrate it. However, on Saturday, balls were out, and people were out at like, I think Bob and I got there like at 1 o'clock ish in the afternoon, and people were already like lined around the buildings. I am not even kidding, like trying to get into like maybe I would say a half a dozen different bars up and down this road. Again, on the south side, I believe, again, as the area is called in the neighborhood. And people were just like already smammered. You would think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, but it was like barely 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was freezing. And a lot of these girls were dressed like they were going to the club in Miami on Saturday night in July. So there were girls that were like missing articles of clothing that they probably should have been wearing, complete open bare skin everywhere, like cut off shirts, like baby tees, booty shorts. I mean, it was like literally super freezing cold with that wind. It was probably like 30 degrees outside, but these girls were dressed like it was, like I said, Miami nights in a July. I was like, what in the heck? There was guys pissing on themselves. I am not even kidding you. There was a dude that was just pissed all over himself walking the streets of Pittsburgh there. The cops were trying to like maintain the crowd because it was just so out of control. There's so many people. There were just people like, already stumbling in and out of bars. And this was, like I said, we were there for maybe 2 or 3 hours, and it just kept, as you would expect, progressively getting worse and worse. People were like, just like bumping into each other, and they're like trying to hold each other up. And this was an afternoon on a Saturday after St. Patrick's Day, not even in the evening. And then when him and I went to we went all the way down the street. Bob was like hungry, and I had eaten before we got together, so I wasn't super hungry. I think, Bob, wherever you want, man. You pick wherever you want to go. I'll go. I'll get an appetizer, whatever. So we go all the way down this road, and there's finally a restaurant it was a restaurant, but previously it was converted into a restaurant from an old school, like probably 1940s gas station. So out front, they still have the pumps. They still have the facade of the gas station. Inside, it looks like a gas station. They have all the signage and all the neon hanging up everywhere. The only difference is they have flat screen TVs in the kitchen now. And that was super cool to eat there with Bob. We hung out. We watched I believe the Duke game, and they lost. So we watched the last 15, 20 minutes of the Duke game. And just hanging out, had a couple good wild buffalo wings or whatever, like chicken wings with their like local hot sauce. I'd asked our waitress how good was it, and she goes, "Oh, it's real hot and good," but I didn't find it very hot, but it was very flavorful. So there was that. And then I don't know, Saturday night, I believe, him and I and his wife Chris, we all ended up watching Megan, the unrated version, at their house, which actually was really good. I had heard from friends that they said if you can watch an unrated version, because they watched the rated one in the theaters, so they cut out a lot of the more gruesome stuff. But we watched the unrated version, and I was quite impressed with how good that was. So for me, it was 3 for 3 on movies, because sometimes it can be hit and miss, as you well know, especially with new movies. I mean, I knew what I was getting myself into with Assault on Precinct 13, but with the other two, you had no idea. But I was pleasantly surprised, and all 3 movies were hits in my opinion. But we watched Megan together at their house. It was really cool. We were just hanging out watching Megan. Bob and I went up to his card room a couple times and hung out, and just like, we just talked about life, talked about baseball cards, families, opened up our wax. We had went to a local card shop. Later on that day, when we hung out with Dom, like the next day, or maybe later on that evening, we went to another card shop real close to Bob's house, and we got a couple blasters, and we opened those up, which you saw. But we were just up there talking, just talking about just the collecting and everything, and where we were at in our lives. That's for me what it's about, hanging out with friends. And I mean, we could talk about sports, we could talk about sports cards, we could talk about collecting, all that's great. But it's just the interactions, the friendships, the hanging out part, just being brothers and friends, and that's what it's about for me. It's worth the drive to go visit with people who are like-minded and just good, solid people, which Bob and his family completely are, And so anyways, that's a little bit about it. I think I kind of hit most of the highlights there. You all saw the video previously with what I picked up when I was in Pittsburgh. But I just want to say again, thanks to Bob Sr., his mom, Mrs. Lewis, Chris, his wife, his 3 daughters, our beautiful daughters, Dawn, Field of Dreams, for all their kindness. His sister Tori, awesome. And so anyways, guys, it was great. His next door neighbor, Joe's a character. Let me just talk about this guy. So Bob told me his next door neighbor, Joe, is a little bit of a wild card. He kind of just like, not to, I don't want to, how to say this without getting in any kind of like people get all butthurt, because it's not me, it's him. But let's just say he's not a PC guy. As most people know me privately, no, I'm not either. So when we met, it was a match made in heaven. We never were able to get together. He invited us over to their house to hang out and have a few drinks. It just didn't work out time frame wise. But his neighbor was he's like the black version of me, if you can imagine. So we were like hit it off immediately, like just like saying all kinds of wild stuff to each other. People probably walking by with their dogs were like, "What's going on with these 2 guys?" So it was awesome meeting Joe. I hope next time I come up that maybe we can make time to hang out one evening and hang out or whatnot. He kept telling me he's gonna take me to the darker part of town to hang out. He goes, "You will like that." So I'm sure I will. So, but anyways, he was a great guy. Every time we were outside with Bob's dog or his girls playing, he came over and we talked, and it was like a straight up just great guy. And definitely look forward to hanging out with him again sometime soon. So anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I know it was about 20 minutes of me just kind of droning on, but hopefully someone enjoyed this conversation to kind of be a little bit more detailed oriented about what I had done in Pittsburgh and with Bob and his family. So thank you all for watching. Until next time, peace.